Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me this evening on the In Review, the 20th of April 2023. And thank you for those joining me on Facebook. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a fantastic time. And those on, what should I say, Instagram as well. Instagram, which is Overflow. Of course, you're not going to see the full picture of everything, but you're only seeing me. You shouldn't be only seeing me. You should see Reverend Garry Graham as well. Garry, are you ready to come in? Give me a thumbs up. you, no, not yet. Yeah. So yeah, you should go over to the other side there. Somebody, Lorna, say I'm in the UK at present, leaving for summer climate in next week. Hello, L. Came over to do a nice search. Okay, hope you're well and everything like that. And I don't know about you guys, and but the weather has been really great. I mean, last week I was under the weather, but when I'm under the weather, I believe in getting into the weather. Don't you believe that? When you say I'm in the weather or under the weather, I think the best thing to do is get in the weather. Don't let the weather get to you. And so nobody would know that I was actually not that well, having some cough thing. If I was coughing so much, people would think that it is even COVID. Those days you couldn't even mention the word COVID. You remember? In 2020, you couldn't say those words. You couldn't say anything against that. That was how things were so bad, where you had to isolate, you had to fumigate. Sorry, not fumigate. You had to quarantine, you had to shield, and you had to lock down, all those sort of things there. And depending on where you were, and so, but nevertheless, things has moved on, and today I tell you, it was really great in the park, and it's very interesting. But tonight, anyhow, still, there's a lot of things happening in the UK. As I would say, a lot of things happening in the world, and I like to sometimes share my perspective, Sir Garry Graham perspective, and your perspective if you join in as well. What are you thinking of the top news or some of the news? Because you got all the different breaking news from BBC, CNN, LBC, and all those sort of things. But why not we give our own perspective on anything? There's an issue with Dominic Raab and Rishi Sunak and the bullying probe into with the deputy prime minister. There's an issue regarding the judges actually have lost they have lost the powers to block deportation flights to Rwanda. Remember what is happening with that? And also there's in Scotland as well, the party not going bankrupt as Westminster makes threat, and inflation still is rising. I keep talking about my orange juice, which was 50p and now it's 85p, and it seems like it's going up. I'm waiting for it to get down there. But every time there's an interest rate rise, what happened is that your mortgage people start to call you and start to say all these different things, and there's pressure. And the big belly governor of the Bank of England is actually say the last major interest rate may be in May. And that could be an impact on lots of people. But definitely before we end tonight, we have to talk about Jamaica's road to becoming a republic, because that is something which is really big. And that is creating a very interesting time in Jamaica. I had a show last week which spoke about that as well. Jamaica becoming a republic. And it's very interesting to know what you think about that. Okay. So I'm going to bring you to Garry. Are you ready? Yep. I think you're ready. Are you ready, Garry? I don't know if you're ready. I
think
just
you know.
Are you ready? Did you say you're ready?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. How are you?
You're ready like Freddie.
Yeah, ready like Freddy. Is the
Ready like
lighting is my lighting okay?
Well, as Doreen Lawrence was talking about with the police, she said the police said, I don't think there's any issue with the police. And she said the only way to deal with that is the people to say something. So I've asked the people, is the lights okay with Garry, people? let's see if anybody come back and say the lights okay. With me, I can see you, but it's not
Okay.
for me.
As long as it's not too dark or it's not too bright, or I'll have to probably put on the studio lights.
Garry, it's your wife, straight out of Orchards, that should say they can see you. Nobody else should see you.
All right. Okay.
How are you anyhow still? How's your week so far?
No, everything's good so far.
Mm,
Everything's good
yeah.
so far. Could be better, just like with
Yes.
everything else, but
Mm.
it's everything. It's okay. It's okay.
One of the things I was gonna say to you is with how the world is going, everybody needs some sort of extra word or extra motivation or extra push to take them to the next level. And a word sometimes can pull people up. So I'll just say at the end of the show, what's your word that can carry people through, because you never tell, sometimes people going through different things, and a word can actually bring them up to the next level.
Really, you want to start the revival in London, yeah?
Well, we need to start a revival somewhere, you know what I mean? Because everything is now so, or what should I say, people are so cautious so much about what they want to say. People don't want to share their thoughts, and they feel like somehow they're pushing so many things under the carpet. They're somewhat what do they call it, constipation of their voices, constipation where they want to push it
I've
out.
never heard that. I've never heard that terminology before.
well, well,
Constipation.
you, well, you got to create it. There's one time they say in church, they said the constipation of the fellowship joins. Whereby you're not able to let out. You're just taking things until the point where you're so, you know. So yeah, so people up that level there. But yeah, I think one of the things that I was looking at, and sometimes I sort of listen to the news in a way as if to say it's what is coming to you. And I think what is coming very strongly at the same time is that while Rishi Sunak may be under pressure, but he seems to be performing. Even persons from the other side, he say he seems to be a performer. He seems to be out there and just getting the things done. He's just excited and so full of zeal, and just really genuinely want the best for the country. What do you think about that?
Well, put it this way, I think he's doing much more than what the former prime minister did. I think he's out there and he seems to be doing the business of government.
Yeah.
So I can't fault him on that. I mean, the
Mm.
only problem, as I did state from the very beginning, is that, and as you also stated, is that Rishi Sunak he was elected by the parliamentary officers. I mean,
Yes.
the country never placed him, but he hasn't got the mandate of the people,
Yes.
and that seems to be against him. But if things really go well for the economy, and the economy can only get better if the world economy gets better, so we just
Yes.
have to
Yes.
see how that happens. But apart from that, we'll have to see if he can pull a rabbit out of the bag, and the people take the carrot and places him and places him, you
Yes.
know, in the driver's seat, in the proper
Yes.
driver's seat, so
Gary,
that
I'm
he
gonna
can
you keep talking there, because I'm going to have to do something to fix my camera. So keep talking there at the same
oh
time, all right?
dear, oh dear. Well, I I don't know how much I can say or what can be done, but I do believe that the uh, the government is doing as well as it could. I believe it's got its hiccups, and I'm sure that even Dominic Raab, I think Rishi is being accused of delaying. It would seem he seems to be delaying the release of the document,
Yeah.
which is to probably bury
Or exonerate.
Dominic Raab. Yeah, and it would seem, Sylbourne, that
Mm.
by his delay, it's an indication that whatever this particular um, what are they called again? This particular
Bullygate.
no, the document, or
Yeah.
the what is it called? The group that has come together,
Yes.
or the process. It would seem anyway
Yeah.
that the report if you've seen that the report is not very good. It would seem that way based on what Rishi is doing by delaying. If he is delaying his
Yes.
decision on what needs on releasing the report,
Yes.
it would seem that it's not favorable to Dominique, and he's trying to. He doesn't know what to do there. So we're just gonna have to wait and see anyway.
And then it will also have an impact on his judgment again, which they
Yes.
always keep talking about, because he has Rishi Sunak has been accused. One of the accusation of him, as you rightly say, of delaying a decision on the future of
Yes.
his deputy Dominic Robb, and they said he received the inquiry's finding at around 11:30 today, with number
Right.
10 saying earlier it would be published as swiftly as possible. Now the question is, why is it not published? If it is there, it's the public figure, or they're going to doctor it, or they're,
Yeah.
or what you say, they're waiting for what should I say, a resignation letter to say that he's going to spend time with his family. That's what happens most time. That's in the UK, if anything. It doesn't happen in Jamaica, of course.
Yeah.
But there are conversations taking place in government and circles about what will happen next if the Justice Secretary leave his position. If he resign or is sacked, that will trigger a reshuffle of Mr. Sunak's cabinet. Senior figures in government are bracing for the reports to be damning and feel he might have no choice but to go. But the CBI guy recently, of course, was called to his pants down or something like that for inappropriate act. The CBI head. So therefore, there's a squeaky clean mentality which has to be in operation in those in the higher echelons of power, which is very important.
Yeah.
And the question is it that one is caught or one is not caught? Because who is perfect?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know if any of your listeners at all
Yes.
have thought this, but I have said to you, if you remember quite clearly, Syl, that Dominic Robb, up until the time something happened not too long ago, but he was the squeaky clean guy at the top. That if anything should have happened to, in my estimation, if anything happened to Boris and they had to go to the country, that he would have been the one to step in, because he was just, he was Teflon. It's as if nothing could stick.
To be honest with you, if you remember, I was pushing him at one point to be the prime minister as well, because we're always saying Dominic Raab seems to be the guy.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he said this is not for me or something like that at that time. So I think we'll watch the space to see how that one goes there with the prime minister, to see how it unfolds, because I know that Labour would be coming in, rightly so. Any opposition would come in with their knives and say, see, as we told you, not fit for purpose. The government is not fit for purpose. And then how many scandals can the Conservative hold? How many scandals can Rishi Sunak hold? But as you rightly say, what may save Rishi Sunak is an economy which bounds based on the world. If anything,
Yes.
But the other thing also, just linking with the justice bit here, is they're talking about the judges to lose power to block deportation flights after Rishi Sunak reaches deal with party rebels. This is about the Rwanda, and sometimes always say, and people can ask, what is wrong with Rwanda, Gary? Back again with this Rwanda thing.
What is wrong with Rwanda? No, I personally, again, and I know you've asked a question because you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm going to say. I don't have a problem with Rwanda. You cannot. Any sensible individual
Yes.
An intelligent person would say you cannot criticize or be negative about anything at all if you haven't experienced that particular thing. I have
Yeah.
not gone to Rwanda. I can't speak against Rwanda. So I'm not going to speak against Rwanda. As far as I
Yeah.
may be concerned, Rwanda, from all accounts, seems to be a very nice place and fine. I will accept that. But the issue here is people are leaving a country. Put yourself in that situation, Sylbourne.
Yeah.
You are trying to get into, let's say, a different place now. You're trying to get into the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not on the Biden.
You're trying to get into the United States. I don't care
Yeah.
who's there, whether it's Biden, Trump, Obama,
Yeah.
or the Bushes. You're trying to get into the United States.
Mm.
Right? You've done everything possible. The only thing you haven't done is that you haven't got into a boat to travel the Atlantic to get there. Right?
Yes.
You've gone on the plane, you've hid in the luggage, you've hid in where the wheels going. Somehow you survive the cold and the atmospheric pressures and temperatures up there. However, every time you went, they deported you, or you never got to get there. You finally get to the United States. You finally get there, only to be told, okay, Sylbourne, Sydial, we're sending you to Nigeria.
Yeah.
now, you left, let us say, Germany.
Yes.
You left Germany to go to the United States.
Yes.
You traveled to France. You
And you
got
paid
to
and
the
you,
UK by
and
some,
you paid all the money to the
yeah, to
gangsters then.
yeah, to the gangsters.
Mm.
You lived rough. I mean, as rough could be. You've
Yes.
gotten to the United Kingdom or to England.
Yeah.
Yes, you traveled to England. Somehow you got through. You went to Northern Ireland. You traveled down to Dublin and to the other and to Cork. I think Cork is on the other side of
Yeah.
Ireland. Yeah, and the gangsters have said you need to pay a further £4,000 or dollars to get to the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
You've paid that. You've done that. Yeah, you're sleeping rough. It's not that you have a hotel room or a hostel or whatever. You're sleeping
Yeah.
rough.
Mm.
Okay, you've gotten to the United States only to be told after leaving Germany, right? Because you want a better life for yourself. You may have a wife and a kid or a
Yes.
baby when you
Your
left.
family, yes. They want a
Yeah,
better life, yes.
you want a better life. You go to the United States only to be told that you're going to be deported to Nigeria. Now, how would you feel? You didn't go to the United States to
Yeah.
be deported to
Yeah.
Nigeria. If that
Well,
was the case,
yeah.
Sylbourne, you
Yeah.
could have left Germany and go to Nigeria
Yeah.
by yourself.
Yeah. Actually, if somebody's gonna on their quest to come to the UK or so, they will not be happy to go somewhere else. But it all depends on why the person is leaving, because sometimes it could be a situation whereby they just want to leave to get away from a particular atrocities against themselves and their family.
Well,
So
that is
they may,
what these people left.
yeah,
Syria and Libya and
yeah,
and these war-torn and sometimes
areas, yes,
um devastated, stricken places. Only for somebody else to make the decision for you that you're
yeah,
not stopping where you want to go. I'm sending you to Nigeria, which, if that was the case, instead of making a round
mm,
trip, I would have just paid, let's say, £4,000 and gone to Nigeria, if that was
yeah,
the case. But obviously, you've paid more than £4,000 or
yeah.
4,000 US dollars.
Well, what they're actually saying now is where we're at this point now is the ministers will be allowed to block judges from stopping deportation flights in some situations on the plans to toughen the illegal migration bill Sky New understands. And Rishi Sunak has reached a deal with a group of right-wing Tory MPs who had threatened to rebel if the Prime Minister did not harden the controversial legislation. and it is expected that a new amendment will be introduced allowing ministers to ignore the interim injunctions from the European Court of Human Rights that attempt to stop a deportation flight known as Rule 39 orders. You know, and this is where I believe there's going to be some sort of conflict now with the human rights activists, the lawyers, and and I think it's going to converge also with the Windrush bit, which is actually talking about taking the government and trying to get the Home Office to not deal with or to oversee even the Windrush compensation scheme, which they're supposed to be dealing with, and and according to what I understand, is that another amendment is expected to say British courts are only able to stop deportation which could cause serious or irreversible harm, right? A discretion to opt out on Rule 39 orders till and which need to find a sign off. Yeah. So it is that. So the Rule 39 orders is that it is expected that a new amendment will be introduced, allowing ministers to ignore interim injunctions from the European Court of Justice, right, that attempt to stop a deportation flight. And if you remember, there was a flight which was supposed to be going to Rwanda, and the ECJ apparently had stopped it in its track. And what I don't know is if there have been any flights gone so far. So it seems to be that the government, in a way, has recognized, has come to terms that this policy seems to resonate within the UK, Gary. It seems to be favorable to a lot of people, in a sense. People call it a gold winner. Is that saying something about the mass of the UK indigenous? Is that saying something there?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You see, so many laws have been passed,
Yes.
and it just makes everything. It with these laws being passed, it impacts
Yes.
on other things. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I'm listening to you. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it impacts on other things.
Mm.
So, so we just don't know what this decision that Rishi has made and what change in this particular law, or Rule 39 as they call it,
Mm.
what this will have, or what impact this will have on the refugees or those who are seeking asylum and won't get it, and
Yeah,
what the impact is going to be on the Windrush people, because all of these laws, they do impact us.
they do.
That's
Yeah.
what we don't understand.
Mm.
It,
Lord,
you know, these
yeah,
things impact our communities,
yeah,
but again, our our lawyers, those who do fight for us, or do those who represent
yes,
parts of the community, do they, well, they must understand that, they've got to
yeah,
realize that, but are they really standing up
yeah. Because
and speak?
yeah, because a Lord Thomas of Swingate, a former Lord Chief Justice, said ignoring a ruling would be an immensely serious step and sets an extraordinarily bad example, or rather, it will set a dangerous precedent, according to him telling BBC Radio 4. Many people would say having the power to ignore a court order is something, unless the circumstances were quite extraordinary. That is a step government should never take because it's a symbolic breach of the rule of law. You know, that is something that the UK was talking about, the Bill of Rights at some point, to get rid of the human European Court of Justice and the human rights things, and to be able to stand on its own. Hence Brexit.
Yeah,
And
it's not good. It's not
yeah,
good.
yeah. But the thing about it is that, and I always say is, um, and I think we've been talking about this for a long time, is the solutions and the best way to sort of deal with this. And when I just mooted something on BBC the other day by saying maybe there should be a borderless, the state should be borderless, They shouldn't have any borders. Everybody say, wow, wow, you know, will that happen in the UK? Not till thy kingdom come, you know, borderless.
Well, that won't happen because again, Brexit has taken places and has taken place, and and the government then and now wants to be in control, and the
Yeah,
government wants to be in control of their borders.
yes.
Now, the only way that there's going to be a borderless
Mm.
scene is if the UK rejoins
The
Europe,
yes.
the EU, and that in and of itself, they because the EU then will control the borders of the UK, and that's what the UK didn't want. That's what they don't
Mm.
want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's very interesting time. Inflation rate still rises. People pay more mortgage. The government is actually saying that the inflation is going up. I'm sure lots of people are feeling this still. I was actually watching a program the other day talking about the pawn shop, and how the pawn shop actually they believe is maybe fitted in the right place at the right time, because places like Dulwich recently was talking about they don't want the pawn shop down there because it will somewhat cheapen their areas. But people are actually looking for bargains, looking for deals. That even some pawn shop, Gary, are now having clothesline, you know, and what they're saying actually is that maybe it's in the right place at the right time, whereby the pawn shops are actually, um, you know, um, you know, taking light, maybe having some sort of benefit. They said the final UK interest rate rise expected in May. What do they mean by the final UK interest rate rise is expected in May? Profit driving up inflation, warns the ECB. US job claimless rise as it happened. What do they mean by the final? Every time this the governor comes out, they say it's a final thing.
Well, they have to. They can't say what they don't know, and they have to bring some calm to the markets. I think you've got to understand that. I think if the governor ever came out and says, "Well, we can't control the markets or the interest
Yeah.
rates, and we are having to raise interest rates now, but next week we're going to raise it another 1%,"
Yes.
then obviously people are going to panic. People
Mm.
are going. There's going to be a run on the pound, and that is not what the Bank of England wants, and that's not what the markets want. They want a stable pound. They want a stable economy. Now,
Yeah.
I think we've got to understand those of us who. I'm not saying that I'm not a financial wizard. I don't claim to be,
I'm at your feet listening, so where you're
but
commanding
but
and such.
but I think any sensible individual will understand
Yeah.
that, okay, we can always say, well, they ought to know what they're doing and they are the experts. That's true. That is true. But at the same time, we've got to understand and know that they don't have the answers to this problem. They really don't know what's going on.
Mm.
They don't know because,
So
as
you're
you
saying
said,
so you're saying the governor of the Bank of England doesn't know what's going on. He's just playing Russian roulette.
he's got the figures in front of him every day, every minute of the day. And listen, I believe when he goes home at night, there's a telephone that is beside him on his bed. That
Mm.
if there's an emergency, that phone, if it drops 2 points on the stock exchange or whatever,
Yes.
that phone goes off because he wants to be kept informed of
Yes.
what he'll need to do when he gets into office tomorrow.
Mm. Well,
just
well,
just like just like the prime minister. So
yeah.
what I'm saying is that I'm
Mm.
not I don't have the figures. I don't have the information that he has.
Yes.
I don't. He has everything at his beck and call. But what I'm going to be saying really right now
Mm.
is that he cannot predict,
Yes.
because when he last came and stood and made the announcement of raising interest rates and then saying that it's going to go down, it's going to go down, but then 4 weeks later or 2 weeks later or however many days later, he comes back and he says, well, we never foresaw this to be happening and we have to raise it a 0.25%. I mean that there's some things, Sylbourne, believe me this.
Yeah.
There are some things that the experts on whatever, whether it be financial, whether it be political, whether it be whatever it is, I believe still that they know the indicators are pointing in the wrong direction, but they need to take their time to make the decisions to get the country or to get whatever needs to be gotten in the position that they need it to be. They can't do it all at once. Because I tell you this, if the powers that be did what they needed to do, just like what we see in these dictatorial countries, such as, let's say, Sudan or Yemen or in South America or such, they make decisions. Some of them make decisions that they should have made or should have been made months back. But they need to do something drastic. And when they do things as drastic as they've done, just like with France, look at the drastic decision that the president did in regards to election. Macron. The government, the country, the citizens, they went to war. When I said that, you understand? They protested, and they're still protesting.
Even though we're not hearing it, and he's got certain powers that was able to push it through,
they're still protesting.
They're still protesting. They haven't stopped. Unlike the UK, whereby if it's gone through now, everybody just gone back to the yard and say. And then the government says something else, and they go back to the yard and they say that, because even even talking about the whole price increase thing, there's a Michael Saunders, what he says, one more UK interest rate hike likely in May. One more. I don't know what they mean by this one more. They keep saying that. Former policymaker Michael Saunders at the Bank of England predicts inflation will force one more increase in UK interest rates next month. Does it mean one more interest rate UK in the UK next month, then one more in June, then one more in July, and all the time that happens, it will just keep impacting on people's pocket directly, and they say they're trying to control inflation.
That's what they want to do. They can't do it all at one go. So it's not to me, it's not something that, this has happened, so we need to get it. They see it coming. The country is already in the state of serious concern for those who know. I believe that. I strongly believe that this country, just like any other country, is in a serious state that needs serious decisions being made, and they are afraid to make the decision all at once, because anyhow they make the decision in one go how they need to do it, the people of this country will be out on the streets.
So what you're actually saying then, why they are saying one more interest rate hike likely in May, is because that is where they really, really want to go.
Of course.
And finally it's going to happen now. And then after that, they're going to try to do their easing or whatever they want to do.
Sylbourne, how they could discredit me, and if your guys are out there listening to your show right now, right? How they could discredit me or even discredit you, they could say to you, Sylbourne, let Mr. Graham show you evidence of what he's saying. We don't have no evidence. I don't have nothing to show. I mean, they would make you look like an idiot and me worse. They could say, well, Mr. Sydial has a show every Thursday, and this guy who calls himself, Graham, blah 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 blah. But I'm telling you, look at the trend of how things are going. Sil, look at the trend. There are sensible people in our communities. There are sensible people who are working, and they're working in the field of finance. They're working in the field of politics. There are
Yeah.
think tanks going. There are people who know, who are in the know. They know what's going on, yet they
Yeah.
don't have the voice to say what is really happening.
Mm. And
They know.
it's interesting, because it is so detailed. Um, 3 weeks today, on 11th of May, the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee is likely to raise its main policy rate again. So what it's like, it is psychologically preparing you. Bank rate is expected to rise from the current 4.25% to 4.5% in what would be the 12th consecutive increase since MPC before tightening policy, and things like that.
You
That
see, again, Sil,
mm,
not only in finance, I'm not bringing it down to finance. Look, I'm, looking within the medical field, looking in medical area. Look at even within the area in which came out in dribs and drabs about
yeah.
what took place during and the decision that was made during the pandemic, when people were told to stay indoors because, oh, it will spread because, and at the end of it, months, weeks later,
Mm,
it's come out to some extent that it wasn't necessary. It wasn't really necessary to isolate, or it wasn't necessary to wear a mask because the mask never helped. The mask never stopped anything. And then it's coming out that the vaccine that they gave everybody and almost made it a draconian
mm,
decision that everybody takes it, really is now the culprit about why
mm.
people are collapsing or getting sick. Now, yeah, people know these things. People know these things.
And,
They
and
know it.
and the evidence was going around, and people were actually within the medical fraternity was actually saying the same thing as well. And then those who weren't of the medical fraternity was saying otherwise, like Bill Gates, who's not of the medical fraternity, who was actually, against these guys. And now everything is coming to shove, and we're actually seeing. That's why many people are saying that those who are the super blood or the pure blood need to really pat themselves on the back because they stood the test of time, you know, and fought against the powers that be. And there's so much things that they're trying to powers that be is trying to use that minority factor to place that pressure on the majority as well, you know. And but anyway, we're moving from that. But well, let's just go back home now, and just a few minutes more on Jamaica. I don't know if you've been following up the whole thing that Jamaica is to be a republic, and I think I discussed it maybe a bit last week, but it has push has come to shove more now, whereby you have the 14 persons of the committee who are mandated to to sort of change the constitution and to get rid of King Charles. If you remember when Prince William and Kate went to Jamaica, and the Prime Minister spoke to them and said, "Well, we're going to have to move on from." He was trying to be very coy with the whole thing, and and that's where we are now. And the Prime Minister, and they've appointed 14 persons. I don't know if you have been monitoring it, but one of the things that is at hand is I had a 2 hour discussion Saturday night with Professor Rosalie Hamilton, and the whole discussion was about letting the people having a say in the whole process. Therefore, it is not left to the 14 persons who are on the committee, and it is left to the 63 MPs, but somehow for it to be Jamaicanized. That's the right word, Jamaicanized. You know, and with the concept with Barbados have this ceremonial sort of president or something. I don't know if the governor is ceremonial president, and Mia Mottley still remain as the prime minister. And I think the committee has somewhat agreed in a consensus so far that they want it to be a ceremonial president. I mean to say, just like a Gigi, you know, and people are in arms about that because what it has done, it has limited the amount of things that people can do if that is put to the people to vote for a referendum. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, Gary.
No, I have no thoughts on it. I have no thoughts on the process at all, and what is to be done. I'm just hoping and praying that they do the right thing and stop thinking about themselves.
Yes.
That's that's that is all. I mean, when you look at every country. I know we can't look at every country per
Yeah.
se, but that's all I'm
Mm.
saying. And look at the political processes that's happening and what is happening even in the major economies. These presidents, prime ministers, and all those who are involved in politics, all they're doing is looking after themselves.
Mm.
They're not looking after, they're not thinking about the man in the street. They're not. They're thinking now. If there was ever a time where I believe that there was a phrase
Yes.
in Jamaica about, I think it was more or less about the PNP was for the little man in the street and all of that, and the JLP was for the big man and all that kind of something.
Yes.
I mean, if there's ever a time that that is true, is today, where governments around the world, they're not looking after the people. They're
Yes.
being mandated by the people to govern and to care for the people. That's why governments are there. Governments are put in place to care for people.
Yeah.
The
They.
Conservative Party has been placed in in authority to care for the citizens of the United Kingdom.
Mm.
But over the years, decades, generations, we are where we are, where the Conservative Party as well as the Labour Party have just cared for themselves. All they care about is for themselves. They make sure the quality, if you want to have a good pension, and this is for anybody out there that may be listening, just think about yourself.
Mm.
Just be as selfish as some of these politicians. If you want a good pension
Mm.
and if you want to have a house and property in London, run for MP because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
guaranteed a good wage, you're guaranteed a good pension, and you're guaranteed to have a flat or a dwelling place in London and be able to finance that, because that's it. That is what it is
All
about.
right.
It's not about looking after the constituency
Yeah.
in which you may have
Yeah.
been placed to look after.
Yeah. All right. Let's This is what. Let's tell me if you can hear this, and give me a thumbs up if you can hear this clearly.
Afternoon to provide an update to the people of Jamaica and to everyone else listening on the work of the historic Constitutional Reform Committee established to provide expert guidance and oversight to the government and people of Jamaica during the constitutional reform process that we are now in. The media are an important partner, media generally, in the work that we're doing. You are in the business of
Let me stop for a second. Can you hear clearly, Gary? You can hear. Okay.
everyone else listening on the work of the historic Constitutional Reform Committee established to provide expert guidance and oversight to the government and people of Jamaica during the constitutional reform process that we are now in. The media are an important partner, media generally, in the work that we're doing. You are in the business of shaping opinion, you're in the business of informing the public, you're in the business of educating the public, not just entertaining. Jamaica, and to everyone else.
I want to just stop it there and just let that part there. She's talking about the media playing a fundamental role in in getting the message across. But then I was reading this article. I was reading this article today. If I can find this article by this young man. This is from the papers in Jamaica. It's not coming up. Yeah, letter of the day. Can you hear it? Yeah. Can you hear Gary?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah. Yeah. The young guy said, "I'm not a lawyer, but I've learned a lot about the law throughout my life. I realize that the law is common sense. If it is not so, why do we have a jury system where we, the citizens, are mandated to make decisions on innocence, guilt, or in civil matters? Judgment for either the plaintiff, the defendant." And he said, "I watched and I listened to the very troubling press conference on the Constitutional Committee report and gleefully chest beating pronouncement that we have agreed to replace head of state from the British monarchy with our own ceremonial president. It is similar to monarchical governance before 1962, during which Britain sent down rules to the colonies which they were expected to enact in Parliament. So now this has been adopted by politicians and their favored friends." And he said, "Why do we need a referendum when the main question is about moving from a monarchy to a ceremonial one? What if, given the opportunity, we had a different governance structure to choose from? Would that not be more democratic? Should the former Premier Norman Manley have then organized the Independence Committee without consultation from Bustamante and his opposition party and presented it to the committee?" So, Gary, what is happening, and listeners, what is happening there? And for those who don't know, is that the committee somehow has already decided what they want without consultation with the people. So what they have said, Gary, is that it's a ceremonial. A ceremonial is just like the GG. The ceremonial is just you pay money for somebody to just sit down and feel nice and just royal assent and blah blah. Yeah, anybody can do that. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're watching the um I don't know, was it watching the president of Ireland recently, and he was just with 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 Biden, elderly chap and so like that. You know what you need is an executive. An executive is someone whereby they put pressure on the MPs to now be accountable to their consequence. Because the president, when he's like America, then the president will appoint his cabinet, and the cabinet do not have to be members of the parliamentary committee, the parliamentary party. You know, and and therefore, I believe the disingenuous thing what the government is doing at present or with the committee is to have these somewhat what should I say, consensus, that they've agreed with some consensus so far without actually reaching out to the people. And that is what that young man said right there, or the person said in that letter. You know, how can you have already reached a consensus for it to be a ceremonial president, which is a similar thing as what we are getting from? And it's just like, it was lazy, Gary. No fire in the belly. They're lazy. there's no creativity, and they just want to keep the
Well,
status quo. Yeah,
well, obviously, it's because they're in it for themselves. They don't want to create any waves. They want to ride out the time.
yeah,
They want to. They want. They are. Um, they are looking after themselves. It's like a policeman who
yeah,
has a week left before his retirement. He don't want to have no problem. He doesn't want to face no gunman. He don't want to face no knife man. He don't want no robbery. He doesn't want not to happen in that
mm.
last week.
Main,
He
maintaining the
wants,
status quo.
yes, he wants to
Yeah,
maintain. He just
the
wants to
status.
maintain the core. And if there's
Yes,
problems, don't call me because I've got my retirement coming and my pension. I
yes.
want to enjoy my pension. And that's what the government, that's what these greedy politicians are all about. They're for themselves.
I was disappointed when there was a MP, there's a senator, Donna Scott, or somebody said that the choice of the president should be between the prime minister and the opposition leader. So therefore in there is like, you in your small corner and I in mine. Remember that song, you in your small corner and I in mine? So they go into a corner and they say that we'll decide on this guy to be the president. Now, when I was checking the figures, Gary, and I was checking the figures of the last election in Jamaica, and I have the figures here because people were banting around the figures, and I said, let me just look for it myself because nobody wasn't giving it to me. So I just look at the figures directly myself, and the figures is shocking. At the last general election, there was guess how many people voted at the last general election? Garry,
many?
come on, you
How
must
many?
guess, man. No, you need to guess. Come on, you can't, ladies and gentlemen, you have to guess. You can't just expect these things to just come rolling to you. You have to guess
But,
something, man.
I don't want to guess wrongly, man. Just.
Yeah, but
Talk, man, talk.
you can guess wrongly. Nothing wrong with guessing wrongly.
Well, me not
All right.
guess wrong. Just
You know,
talk, man. Talk.
all right. In the last general election in Jamaica, the amount of people who voted was 724,317 persons voted. The population of Jamaica is 2.28 million.
And only 700,000 people
I,
voted.
I just want
Say 800,000.
I just want that to sink in because sometimes I don't think the media and those places let people understand these things.
But
As
they don't
someone,
say that.
huh?
They don't really say. That's the problem.
They don't say. They don't say. They don't say. You know, as someone just said a while ago, JMH said 38%, which is correct, 38%. But I break it down and give you the raw figure right down to the one. You know, so it is 724 1,317, 37.85% voted of the total electors on the electors list. Who was on the electors list? 1,913,410, Garry.
1 million.
One
So what's
no there's the 2 million. 1,913,000 913,410. So that's
is that the real population? Is that the
no,
real
no. That's on the list, on the electoral list,
So what's the population of Jamaica?
2.28 million, right? And
So
it says, and what on 37.85% of that 1.93 voted. And guess how much the JLP got? 408,292. Guess how much the PNP got? 306,000. 306,000, 408,000. So therefore, it's 100,000 difference, and therefore, the ruling party now in Jamaica got how much? 408,292 out of 2.28 million, and they got the majority in house, and therefore they're actually running the show as if to say they got a majority. They haven't got a majority.
No, they haven't got the mandate. They don't have the mandate.
They haven't got the mandate really, but based on the electoral system, of course, because they got the house, they got the so-called, they got the most seats, but they do not have the mandate of the nation when it comes on to the figures. So therefore, when you got this electoral changing and this referendum which is going on, and it's like giving over the power to the 14 people, giving over the power to the 63 people or the MPs, it's a fallacy. It's a fallacy, or what it was. That's right. It's a farce, or it's a farce, in a sense. So therefore, it need to go to the people of Jamaica so they can make this fundamental, this fundamental thing. Because Garry, the reality is this: in 1962, and I've said it all a while, to the dismay of many people sometimes who unfollow me, because I said we were scammed in 1962. It was the biggest scam. It was the biggest chopping. The biggest chopping. That's where the biggest chopping started in 1962, whereby the people should have received lands after the British left Jamaica, and they said it's cool. But we're not. Yeah, as somebody said, yeah, they got the majority of who voted. Yes, they got the majority of who voted, but that doesn't mean to say they got the mandate. They don't have the mandate. You know what I'm saying? and so at this moment in time now, where Jamaica can actually reframe and shape their future, shape their constitution, you do not want to leave it in the hands of 14 persons. You do not want to leave it in just political persons' hands. And if I can if I can actually tell you who the persons are, and I can tell you who the persons are. The Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Honorable Malahoo Fort, Ambassador Rocky Mead, co-chairs of the body, which include Attorney General Derek McCoy, Senate President Tavares Finson, Government Senator Ransford Bram, Opposition Senator Donna Scott Motley, Member of Parliament St. Andrew Western Anthony Hilton, Institutional Constitutional Law Expert Richard Albert, Dr. Lloyd Barnett, Leader of the Opposition Use Small, nominee of the Leader of the Opposition Use Small, Representative of the wider faith-based David Henry, Civil Society Nadine Spence, Chair of the National Committee on Reparation, later Davis Mattis, and Youth Advisor, blah, blah, blah. Majority of these guys are lawyers. Majority of these guys are politicians. You know? And one need to get the people on board, you know? And the word from in my last bit on my show on Saturday night, I'll play what the lady said, which is Professor Rosalie Hamilton, and it was very interesting what she said. Let me just play this bit here, if it can come up. One last word. What's your final statement to us for the show and for the people in the diaspora and those who are listening? What do you have to say last? Of course, this is just a start of major conversations, of course.
Your voice matters. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. And I think if you think about those words, you recognize that all that have been said puts the future of Jamaica in your hands. It's what you choose to do. If you continue to do what we've done for 60 years, then I think we'll have more of the same. I think if we choose to act differently, if enough of us choose to act differently, we will get better outcomes. And I encourage Jamaicans to be inspired by our greats, all of the individuals, the Jamaicans that have gone in uncharted territories. You know, I think about Miss Lou. I think about, of course, we've talked about Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley and the greats. They've all made us proud internationally because they were bold enough to say, we are who we are. And I think if we push in that direction, be bold enough to recognize that we can create a democracy, a republic that the world has never seen, that ultimately addresses our concerns and takes us to where we want to go. It will not be done overnight. It will take generations, but we have to be on that path. And I think I've framed it simply as, let's build the house. Let's rebuild the house. Let's stop the patching not working. You know, when we had emancipation, there were 3 options: stay on the plantation, leave the plantation and go overseas, or the third one, create self-reliant, independent options for yourself. That's what the musicians did. That's what Marcus Garvey told us to do. And that's what I'm suggesting we do. We create a path in which we can be self-reliant. We rely on, we're bold enough, self-confident enough in our own capacity to create a future that's in our interest.
Thank you so much. Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, Garry, you can hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I like what she said.
Yeah.
That the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Isn't that what she said?
Yes, yes.
I think it's something like that anyway. If we only knew, if we only both, and let me straddle both things here. If we in Jamaica knew that, and if we in the UK knew that we have the power, not so much for destruction, but for the governments to hear the voice, then we would use it. Something would happen. But you see, we don't really realize the influence. We don't really realize the authority that we, the people, have. We just think that we have the power on the day of voting just to put like a tick or to put the cross in the box. We do. That is fine. But outside of that process, if things are not right on a day-to-day basis, and those whom we have put in the seat of authority, if we realize that we can at a single stroke take them out, then the citizens of our countries and our places of birth and such and our heritage would act differently, because when you look, well, it may end up like those in the Arab countries, because look what's happened in, for example, in Yemen, where you have one individual who has come into power and then he has snatched everything, even when the people come out, to demonstrate and to show their disdain to what is taking place. The person whom they thought originally would help them has now turned against them, so to speak. He has grabbed the power for himself, and he's now oppressing the very same people he's put in. So you see, we then will really know the individual, the man or the woman that we're putting, what sort of persons they are. Because these people are only there. They will say they're there for the people. They will say they're there because they have you, your welfare at heart. But they don't. They don't have anybody's welfare at heart apart from themselves.
And kissing babies.
And kissing babies.
Yeah.
As if the baby cares. As if the baby really, really cares.
Yeah. The one of the words of Rosalie Hamilton Advocacy Network, which is the organization which they have, is talk about Jamaicans at home and abroad. Let's talk about the nation we want to create as we move away from our colonial ties with Britain. Join our national discussions to tell us about the Jamaica Republic you want. And that is sort of mantra. And I've spoken to a few Jamaicans so far, and sometimes I get the impression they say that it's people overseas who are making more noise about this, but I beg to disagree. I think people back home, while at the same time they're saying this may be not something which is on their top list. They're concerned about the cost of food. They're concerned about oil. They're concerned about the fact that, as one guy was saying, I can't buy fish anymore. I have to buy chicken back, and you know what that is. How is it going to help us? But I said that just like in 1962, when there was a small amount of people, and maybe in the backside of a room could be a dusty room in Westminster where this Constitution was shaped. Here we don't want an opportunity where 14 persons in some room actually shape things. I would love to see the 14 persons with a camera on the wall. We can set up a camera and let the whole world see them as they deliberate the whole thing and talk about the whole process. And therefore, for every single Jamaican to play a part in this whole process, and not for the shapers, the present shapers, who sometimes might not be around in 10 years' time, Garry. And therefore, the legacy of them is going to be for our children. And I'm from Jamaica. You're from Jamaica. Therefore, we are all a part of the process. And I think that this is such an important time that it cannot be left to the 14 persons in that room trying to get consensus upon consensus. What is this thing about consensus when it comes on to a constitution? You don't need consensus. You need to make sure that everybody here and then bring it to the people. So that's my take on it, Garry. And we
no. I think you're right. I think that's it's important to know that a constitution that is being born, that is being thrashed out, is not just for the individuals that are sitting around the table.
Yes.
It's for the nation. It's for the group of people that are not able to be in the room to voice their opinions, to put down what is in their hearts and in their minds, of what they would like to do. As you so rightly said, when they're deceased and gone, okay, their names will be placed in sketched out in iron or whatever to say that
They'll be called fathers of the Constitution. Some DB Constitution that them form.
but yet that
Yeah.
Constitution has not helped your children and has not
Exactly.
helped your grandchildren.
Yeah.
In other words, your children and your grandchildren are worse done for.
Yes.
And these men and these women have gone on to the other side, leaving a total mess behind.
And the funny thing about it, when you read the names of all the different persons, they're all well-off persons. They're all okay. You know what I'm trying to say? I would love for the average Jamaican to say, boy, me need some money in my pocket, you know what, me believe in this, you know, me can see this. We can see this working finally. You know, I don't need to get a visa to go and visit the king because me not getting the visa same way, at least. And therefore therefore do away with in King's house. So therefore, if somebody get a Aki up there, they won't arrest them. You know, I'm gonna find the Aki. You know, do away with Kings. Let's see if we can be very creative with our money. Let's see if we can create something that I don't know. I totally believe that the leaders of Jamaica they lack fire in their belly to be very creative. They just want to keep the status quo and control things. Anyway, as some say, you can come for me now.
No, it's just sad. It's just sad. It's just sad. We will have to wait and see what happens.
Yes.
You know, what is it that the Constitution will say for the citizens of Jamaica? I wouldn't be surprised, still, if that Constitution is not already written.
Garry, listen, I was speaking to somebody in Jamaica recently, and that person said, based on how, let me just show you this. The person said, based on watching that press conference, the impression they got is like the deal was already done already. Watch this.
It was actually established on March.
They said the smile on her face is like it's done long time.
March 22, when the Prime Minister announced the composition of the committee.
That's why I've said to you, Sil, even though we were at the beginning of the program, it wasn't this we were talking about.
Yeah.
But you see, when statements are made, when governmental statements are made, it's not from the standpoint that they're going to do it, you know.
Yes.
It's already done. But it's only the right time that they have to release it.
So and then what they do, they make the decision, it's already done, then they pull back and start to walk towards it. And then they have these consultations to say, we consulted with the people.
Yeah. It's already done. The deal's done. It's already written. It's already written. They may have to tweak it. They may have to, take out a few sentences or a word.
To appease. To appease the plebs.
It's already done. So don't be surprised when something comes out not too long from now. Well, when I say long from now.
Actually, they want it to be done in May. They said they want the Constitution to be done.
It's done. This Constitution was done. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't done a year or two ago.
She said she wanted
the right time.
The press conference recently said they wanted it to be wrapped up in May, man. Wrapped up and done.
But they've done it.
I mean, to say they've done it already.
Before you close out, Sale.
Yeah.
You mentioned about this NNP problem that they're having in Scotland.
Yes, SNP, yes.
Now, I really believe there is nothing that could convince me that Nicola Sturgeon did not see and know this was going to happen. That is why she resigned.
That's why she jumped ship.
Is why she resigned. You can't tell me nothing.
So she jumped ship like the Titanic. She jumped before you got on.
Well, probably so. I don't know what happened on the Titanic. I mean, apart from it was sunk and so many hundred souls were lost.
Yes.
But Nicola Sturgeon, everybody was wondering. Listen to this. When she gave that surprise announcement that she's stepping down, People are asking why. People are wondering why she's stepping down. What's the reason? Because there wasn't anything. She was saying, oh, she needed to stay home. She needed somebody to come on and to take charge of the SNP. She thinks, and even some were saying, well, okay, she wasn't going to get what she wanted in as much as for Scotland to be for Scotland to receive its independence, because that was her main.
That was her drive. That was her driving factor, wasn't it?
That was.
Yes.
But now, Sylbourne, now we're seeing why she had to go, why she had to step down. She can't convince anybody. She can't convince me that she didn't know that the SNP is bankrupt and that there's a motorhome that was what, over £100,000 parked up somewhere, and that the treasurer for the SNP, some 200,000 or whatever is missing. No, come on, man. You are in charge of a political party as big as SNP was, and you don't know the financial state or condition of that place, and then you want the country of Scotland to go independent. That's madness. That is madness.
That's madness. That messes up their plan, because listen, the Scottish First Minister Hamza Yousaf insisted the SNP was not facing bankruptcy amid a financial scandal, as the UK government issued a threat to cut off the party funding if it fails to find new auditors within weeks. And Mr. Yousaf addressed questions around over the sustainability of SNP finances. We are definitely not facing bankruptcy. I'm pleased to say we're on steady footing, though he admitted the party still owed money to ex-chief executive Peter Morrell, Nicola Sturgeon's husband. It's all mixed up, Garry. She knows why she had to jump ship. And I don't think it has maybe anything direct. I think she just realized that, well, in a way, Garry, sometimes people need to know when to go. In some countries, she wouldn't go. You know what I'm saying? But at least she knew that she had to go in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So
she knew that the death knell was coming. She knew it. She saw it. And she had to make the statement to go. She didn't know when it would happen, in as much as the mess to hit the fan. I don't want to say the other word, but she didn't know when that would hit the fan. But she had to go. She saw the day coming and the time coming that if she stayed where she was, then she would be mixed up in it. Her husband, if you notice then, and it was quite strange because I didn't even know her husband was
I never knew was so closely on the party. Yeah.
But they were living some big high life, man. One was getting X wage and he was getting X wage. When you put that together, big money. That's why people go into politics. But anyway, she resigns suddenly. Just think about it. Suddenly, out of the blue, she stands where she stood on that day to say she's resigning. Everybody was wondering, why is she doing this now? What's going on? Yes. Okay. Then a couple days later, it could have been a week later, I'm not too sure. Her husband comes out and says he's resigning.
Yes.
Then when he resigns, it happens a couple days later that there is a motorhome. There's a motorhome, valued at so much £100,000 that can't be found, or it's found on somebody's yard. Wow. And then there is money missing from the SNP, and it's in turmoil, and bankruptcy now is coming. Now, come on, Sylbourne. Come on, man. We're not that stupid.
So therefore, it brings up again the whole essence of politicians, and what you say is that they know certain things in advance and they go back. So she knew in advance what was happening.
I believe so.
In the UK, the Prime Minister Dominic Raab knows what is happening regarding this report. The Bank of England governor want to raise it to 4.5% interest rate, knows what is happening, so they go back. And in Jamaica, the government knows what they plan for the republic, and they already write up the constitution already, but they're going through they're going through some formality. Is that what you're saying, Garry?
It's only formality. Only formality.
They,
Funny,
they're going they're going through the formality now. It's all a done deal, and they're just trying to con. So therefore, the biggest con, then the biggest choppings, not just for Jamaica, but politicians worldwide. They are the king of chopping, and that is why I believe these con guys and these fraudsters are really going hard at it, because they say, "Listen, man, all them big guys that keep getting get all the while, and we can't get catch, and they can't get catch. Might as well we just go for it." Bad example. Bad example they are giving, Garry.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally bad example. Conscious Carrington, how are you? Kim Snow Girl, how are you? David Chen, how are you? Boom. I'm just discussing about. I've heard that it has been revealed that the Constitution for Jamaica already been written for a ceremonial president, and just like all politicians, and therefore it's a con. They're trying to do a second con, 1962 con, and now 2023's con, whatever they call it. But anyhow, as far as I'm concerned, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you're very much involved and integrated and intrinsically involved in this constitution drafting. No matter what, don't let the ball drop on your watch. Don't let the ball drop on your watch, Kim. Don't let the ball drop, Conscious Carrington. Don't let the ball drop, David Chen. Make sure, because don't let the 14 persons feel that they have that control as to how Jamaica should go forward. Don't let the 63 MPs believe that they have the control of how things should go in, because only 408,000 Jamaican actually at the last election voted for the Jamaica Labour Party out of 2.28 million Jamaicans, and only 305,000 Jamaican voted for the JLP, the PNP, right? And 724,000 people voted for at the last election, which was 37%. I'm sure many people don't have that figures, but I'm breaking it down to let people know that you need to take an active part, and you need to be the master of your destiny, and you should not allow the government, should not let the prime ministers, should not let the leaders, or those who do not have the mandate of the country based on the figures to roll steam over you. Take control. Jamaica is yours. All away. Not just for them. Not for the prime minister, not for all of them. As Manley said, we have to take back the country.
I think you better go back and run Sylbourne and say exactly what my commander would have said.
Yes,
we have to get back the country.
We have to, because guess what? The elders. Now listen, now on a serious note, guys, on Instagram, on TikTok, and YouTube, Garry, look at this. I'm not an elder.
Yeah, man.
When I became 50, my high school classmate, Raymond Treasure of York Castle High School, put a note in our WhatsApp group, the class of 1985, and said, guys, there was a time when our parents used to take us to school and we used to call them elders. I'd like to let you guys all know that you are now elders. Some of us was a bit annoyed because it was showing up our age. But the reality of that is that we're now elders. And therefore, it is very important for Jamaicans and those who are elders to not let some or the minority take control of Jamaica. Because as far as I'm concerned, 408,000 and 305,000, we're talking about minority leadership in Jamaica. Minority leadership. And if there's minority leadership, you have got to make sure that you have full capacity to take control, and as much as possible. There, I say it again. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's up to the citizens of the countries in this world to speak up. Speak up. Do not feel it's not right for those whom we have put into power or places of authority to look after us, to care for us. They must not feel that they then have the rule and the authority to destroy us, because that's what they're doing. That's what these guys are doing.
Yes. No, you're right. And for anybody who just come in now, this wasn't about Jamaica. This is about, we're talking about the UK, we're talking about France, we're talking about the world, we're talking about the fact that a minority in government sometimes somehow are roughshod and somewhat deeming to take control of people's lives. And people feel like they have no control. You know, they're raising interest rate, they're raising retirement age without full consultation with the people. You put people in and then they turn their back on you. You put Macron in, him turning back on you.
Look at this here. Look at this.
Yeah.
And you just made a point here. Yes. The people have placed governments in authority to look at situations of their whole lives and then make the right decisions for them. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Democracy then says, that they're considering a thing such as, let's look at one particular country, France.
Yes.
Now, they've said they're going to raise. The country then turns around and says, no, that's not what we want. We want it to stay the same or even drop it.
Yes.
Right? But then they decide, no, we're going to do that. We have to be looking after ourselves. I'm looking after me. Forget you. And then the people then say, okay, that's how you're doing it. We're going out on the streets because we've put you in power to make decisions and to help us, to look after us. Now, if we've got the power to put you in, we've got the power to take you out.
We got the power to take you out. Yeah.
Obviously, those in power corrupts, and absolute power
corrupts. Absolutely. And as Wilmot Perkin would say, oh. No, you're right. And I believe this is a very empowering moment at the same time. And I hope that I can cut it. This is an empowering moment for people to be awake, to realize that those that are in power, those that are in authority over them, are there for a season. And you are the one who have put them in power. And therefore, just like with the UK, we got a recalling system because they recall a couple of MPs at different times. If you're not happy with them, bring them back. Don't reach to the point whereby I know some of my colleagues, Jamaicans, will say, "Why we're not business? We're going to Parliament and blah blah." No, don't let them actually have that field day in Parliament, because what they're doing, they are changing the laws, changing the constitution, changing up things, and then it will affect you directly. Just because maybe it doesn't put money in your pocket right away, but no, political power, legislation, and all those sort of things. Don't allow the 63. Don't allow those in power, because actually, after a while, as somebody said, it's like the government against the people. That's what it turns out looking like.
Yeah, and it's the people that put the government in.
And it's the people that put the government
in. That is the strange thing about it. It's the people. It's the will of the people. It's the strength. It's the authority. It's the power of the people that puts these people in government. But when they get in, they feel that they have the rule of law to overrule those who have put them in there, and it shouldn't be. It can't be.
Listen, I must say that there's a statement sometimes which I say, and it says you vote out the government, but you still get the government in. So therefore, try to get the right people in, and I think that they should have some really authentic checks on the finances of people once they step into politics, from they become MPs. What is their bank account status or whatever like that, and how they get fat over a few years or so. There must be some checks on these things, and this is for all over. Anyone, myself, whatever, if we go into politics or whatever, what was it before? How come they get so fat? How come they get so fat?
You see, again, I mean, in to address your situation, I think, and even to say that there are checks and balances. That's the funny thing about it, Syl. There are checks and balances throughout the whole, if you want to say, political system, throughout the financial system, throughout the legal system. There are checks and balances, that are placed in there because of the misdemeanors of others or the mistakes
Yes.
of others. So they make laws or rules or whatever it is in order to address the mistakes of others. But the thing about
Yes.
it is that really there are certain individuals and peoples that I mean, look at, for example, past prime ministers, one of them being, let's say, Boris. Now, we know that there are rules and regulations by which prime ministers and those who are in government cannot receive presents or gifts or
Gifts
whatever. They
also.
get
Yeah.
these things, and they have to declare it. If they
Yeah.
go on engagements while they're in government, if they
Yeah.
go on engagements and they're going to get paid for it, they have to declare it. Now, the thing about it, how many of these prime ministers, past and present, has at some stage in their political life have to be asked to come back in because they received a gift, because they received a present, because they received some money for something by way of another individual.
Yeah. Because
You see,
yeah. Go on, Garry. Yeah.
you see, Sil, it really doesn't matter when these people get into these positions of influence and
Yeah.
positions of power and of authority. It doesn't matter what these rules state. To them, they think that they're greater than these rules. They think they're greater than these, than these laws or whatever it is that they've put in place. It is said to protect them. That's what they say it is. It's to protect the prime minister. It's to protect the governmental secretaries of states and all of that kind of stuff. But they don't care. They're greater. They're bigger than this. That's why they do what they do, and then they're brought in before political committees to question. Didn't you know this? Well, when did you get that? Who gave you this money? Or who gave you the £800,000 to to redo the flat at 10 Downing Street? Was it a loan? No, it wasn't. Well, what was it then? Oh, somebody gave it to me to do it. I mean, all, all of these things. You see, the people, if we the people, it's like sometimes I watch on television, if the people in London, or well, let me say London because it's the capital city, right? When these people are demonstrating for genuine things, yes. If the nation ever came out to rebel against some of the things that this government or whatever government at the time is doing, there is no police authority, there is no army that could ever come out to contain the masses. It is only by chance and mercy where they may get a few 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. You may get 1 million people. But if 1 million people came down into the capital in regards to some of these things that the government, whether it be conservative or labor, that the government is trying to pass or do, there is no police force. The Metropolitan Force may be the largest police force in the United Kingdom, but even if you got all the forces in this country to come and to help the Metropolitan Police, they would not be able to control the citizens of this country if we came out in one voice. The government will have to come out and change whatever they say.
So therefore, what you're saying actually is that the police may even join in the demonstration as well as what happened.
Well, they might as well because they can't contain it.
In France, I believe the firefighters or whatever joined in or something like that.
They did.
But anyway, Garry, before we go, as I said, I put you on the spot and say, give a word of encouragement to those people that listen. You know what I mean?
Give a word of encouragement. Well, there was something here that we had a little prayer meeting just before we came on air. But I'll just read one verse from Colossians chapter 3 and verse 15, and it says, "And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also you are called in one body, and be thankful. Let the
Yes.
peace of God rule in your hearts. Now, the peace of God is something that brings peace in the midst of adversity, in the midst of pain, in the midst of trouble. When
Yes.
God's peace is in the heart and in the life of an individual, then whatever is going on, he's at peace with himself. And I think the
Yes.
reason why our world, and let us say our country back home and the country here in which we live and reside, that's why there is so much trouble with
Yes.
those, especially in the area in which we're talking about. Because I'm not saying that some of them don't have the peace of God, but if the peace of God was really reigning and ruling in the lives and in the hearts of those who are in authority, then the decisions that some of them are making, the decisions that some will have are having to face at this moment in time, there will be a different mindset, a completely different attitude, and the way how it will be addressed will be completely different to what it is right now. So I
Yes.
just want to encourage everyone out there, whatever problems, whatever situations you may be in, whatever you're facing right now, this very moment in time, it is the peace of God that's going to bring peace to you, that is going to help you, to sustain you, to
Yes.
strengthen you, and to keep you, so that when you get through it on the other end, because you will get through it, believe me, it may seem dark and it may seem as if there is no end. But when you go through whatever anybody right now is going through, when you look back, you're going to recognize that it is the peace of God that has sustained you,
Yes.
strengthened you, protect you, and kept you for that
A-
time.
Amen. And we transcend all understanding as well.
Amen. It will.
Amen. Amen. Well, Gary, thanks for that, because I believe that one has got to be sure of your election. Make your election sure as to what you believe in as much as
Yes.
possible, because there's so much voices around in this world today that I believe that it is better that you. A friend of mine says, he said some people want him to be operating open. I said, but he like to go straight. I said, yes, go straight and narrow, because that's the best way. Everybody sometimes want to be open and just do everything. But I believe at a time like this, we've got to be so focused and so election sure as to what you're about. And as the word what Gary just said a while ago, powerful words. So yeah, thank you, Gary, for that. Well,
No
ladies and
problem.
gentlemen, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and it was a good show. Talk about all different things, and remember to like and subscribe and share, especially the bit about Jamaica. Let's make sure that you are on top of the game as much as possible. Thank you on Instagram, TikTok as well, Facebook, and definitely, and we will see you next week, same time on the Late Show with Sylbourne, Sydial, and Reverend Garry Graham.